All right, so we got another fire panel here. This is gonna be fun. Down on the end there is Eric Weiss. All right, Eric is he's he sells some Bitcoin. He likes to sell Bitcoin occasionally. He's also friends with Michael Saylor, and gets to like do podcasts from his house and stuff. It's true. Yeah, that podcast we did. You're like, actually, I'm doing this from Michael's house. He has better internet. Yeah, and Eric orange pilled Michael Saylor. So let's give Eric a round of applause. All right,
that's a claim to fame right there by itself.
Yeah. All right, in the middle here we have Gary Leland, and Gary hosts BitBlock Boom. He's got a podcast as well. You still doing a podcast? Yeah. Okay. 4 minute Bitcoin.
I like it short.
You changed it from 4 minute crypto. I like that.
I had to get rid of that shit coin.
That's an upgrade. That's an upgrade. So yeah, thank you for joining us, Gary. Give a round of applause. All right. And then this guy here, I don't know who he is. He just sat down at the seat, and he's just, I don't know.
Hey,
what's your name?
My name's Ayi Dieter
Bob. Out of here.
My penis is only 1 inch.
This is American HODL. He's taking a break from Twitter, so happy to hear from him here because we all miss him. All right, gentlemen, this is the question I start with on all these panels. Tell us about the vibes here. Are you guys feeling it? Like, has it got you all charged up? What has inspired you from this week? Let's start down with Eric.
I think it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, get up. Oh yeah, get up really close on the mic. Like make out with it a little bit.
It's not really my type, but all right. So yeah, I think it's actually been incredible. I went to my first Bitcoin conference in 2013, and that consisted of, a couple hundred people walking around with T-shirts that said, "I can help you set up your wallet." We didn't have senators, Congress people, CEOs of publicly traded companies speaking. We didn't have 10,000 plus people. If you would have told me back then that it was going to turn into this, I don't know that I would have believed it, but it's absolutely incredible to see.
All right, Gary.
Well,
what's your opinion, man?
It's amazing out here where the Bitcoiners are. Because basically, let's get into this is a shit fest. Like, there's so many pockets of Bitcoiners. What's really cool, it gave all us Bitcoiners a reason to come to the same place, and we can go to these individual parties and see other Bitcoiners. And the other thing I want to say, because I'm an old fart, and they gave me a wheel pass, I get hit up about 7 times a day by somebody who's thinking I don't know what's going on, and they can con me into investing in some shitcoin. It's really starting to get kind of old.
Are there a lot of shitcoiners out there?
There's a lot of people trying to say, oh, that one guy even said, well, I see you have a whale pass. You don't want to like invest in my company?
Was his name Mayweather?
No, that was crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on. It does feel like the Swan Dome is like the oasis in the desert of shitcoinery.
This is a safe space.
There are a lot, walking around, I just see people with like chain link shirts and stuff like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Or like when I walked to the conference, some guy was like, "Hey man, do you want to earn 10% interest on your Bitcoin?" And it's like the Ron Swanson meme. It's like, I know more than you. Like, no, I don't want to earn 10% interest on my Bitcoin. Thank you, sir.
That was very polite of you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not what he said.
He gave me a free fanny pack though, so that was good.
Okay, that makes up for it, I guess. All right, so HODL, man, you've been off Twitter. So what's your latest? What are your hot takes? Like, in the past few weeks of news.
Well, my hot take just from being here is kind of like what Eric said. There was a fucking senator at the beefsteak, dude. I mean, there was a congressman at the Bitcoin prayer breakfast. We've won. Guess what? The price is fucking $35,000. We've won. It's just
we're winning. We're winning.
Here.
Just winning, constantly. Are we tired of winning?
I'm not tired of winning.
I'm not tired of winning.
No.
I got at least 10 more years of winning in me.
I probably have 10 years of life left. I'm old, dude.
Oh, no, come on. Come on. All right, Eric, talk to me about the Bitcoin markets. I mean, you're selling Bitcoin. What are you seeing from? You're mostly working with institutions, right?
Yeah, the biggest change that I've seen over the last, call it 6 months, is initially the conversations were institutions that just wanted education. They'd heard a lot about it. They're like, all of us spend a lot of our time just educating, right? And so the institutions are kind of like, what is this? Why should I be paying attention to it? Why are pension funds, endowment funds, insurance companies all of a sudden mentioning it, and I'm reading headlines about it. So they go wherever they can go to get information, and that's kind of what I spent most of my time doing about 6 months ago, speaking to different groups of high net worth individuals, that kind of thing. And now, fast forward, just in the last, actually since the dip, the conversation has changed a little bit. And now, which I'm really impressed with, something that kind of differentiates the institutions from retail is the institutions saw this dip and now they're interested in buying. And that's what's really fucking cool. Is they have the conviction. You know, retail people, it's like they all wait for a dip. They want the dip. They're screaming on Twitter that they want the dip, and then the dip happens, and they're like, "Oh shit, I don't want to buy now. It dipped. Elon said something." It's like if you're gonna get a dip, there's always a reason, right? Elon saying something is as good a reason as you're ever gonna get. It's not China saying they're gonna ban it. It's some billionaire asshole who's high on drugs and tweets crazy crap said something negative. So what? This is a gift, right? And the institutions see right through that, and they're now interested in actually, putting capital to work. So that's been the single most exciting thing for me over the last few months.
It's beautiful to hear. Gary, have you been orange pilling anybody lately?
Well, I try to orange pill a person every other week or so.
Yeah. Have you been orange pilling the shitcoiners here?
The shitcoiners, sometimes I think they're a lost cause. I mean, sometimes some of them are a lost cause, but you just can't give up. You got to keep trying, stay on track, and sooner or later they'll come to reality. But I think the real issue is that they don't understand what's going on, and they say if a Bitcoin went from 5 cents to $60,000, certainly I can find something that can go from a nickel to 1,000 and be a millionaire. And it's not uncommon. When I first got into it, I felt the same way. It's not uncommon. It's just that you have to learn. And if you hang out with enough people who understand Bitcoin, you'll know that's not the route to go. But it's a common thing. It's not uncommon at all. HODL.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this question. I don't think I've heard you talk about this. What is the biggest risk to Bitcoin, in your opinion?
I think the biggest risk to Bitcoin is apathy. Has always been apathy.
Yeah.
Right. Like that we all stop caring about Bitcoin, stop protecting Bitcoin, stop. Just let contentious changes through to Bitcoin. Stop fighting for it. And even if it's not us, it's our children. Like. Who just, they don't realize the sacrifices of the world we came from, and they let it slip, and they let it become 22 million.
Yeah.
It's 23 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the big problem for Bitcoin, I think, long term. In the short to medium term, nothing's going to defeat Bitcoin.
You just don't think we can keep up the fight for the long term, or like
we'll be dead. We'll be dead by the time the last block is mined.
And
right?
so that fire,
so
the revolutionary fire will go out, and
what I'm essentially telling you is that you need to make Bitcoin children and indoctrinate them. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look, we, most of the, founders of this country, right, were very much against central banking.
Yes.
And it was a battle for 115 years, and we eventually lost that battle.
And we are, we've forgotten. We're like the summer children of history. We live in, peacetime under the nuclear umbrella, so we didn't have to fight or earn anything in our entire lives, and we just let it all slip. And now we live in a fucking debased society. So that's a very human thing.
Yeah.
That cycle could perpetuate itself.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
In the short to medium term, we're just gonna fucking roll over everything in existence.
Yeah, it's like
no one can fight the tide.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is going to walk you all away. Like
inevitable.
I hope you're right. I think nation states still represent the single greatest threat to Bitcoin. In the short term, I wouldn't call it a threat, but I would say the obstacle is education. And I think that education is the single most important thing in Bitcoin. There's a fear of it, and there are obviously lots of institutions, entities, nation states that are legitimately threatened by it, and they're going to push back. Maybe not so much now, $7 trillion, maybe not at $1 trillion, $5, $10 trillion. I think our enemies change, and we'll need a little more firepower to address those enemies at that time. In the short term, it's education, and I think the reason education is so important is education's like that superpower that allows you to hodl in good times and stick with it, and hodl in bad times. If your friend that you trust tells you to buy Bitcoin and you listen to them and it goes up 50% and you think you got lucky, you sell, you made your 50%, you think you did well. same person, their friend tells them to buy it, it goes down 50%. They're like, oh, fuck that,
Yeah,
they don't have
yeah.
the conviction, they sell. So education in the short term is the most important thing, because I think once people get it, they really get it. And when you understand it, you'll never sell your Bitcoin. And so I think that's a big thing. But nation states still represent a real threat. I think that the United States, people like Cynthia Lummis and the like are making great strides on our part, and it's incumbent on us to educate them. I don't want to get into the whole energy thing, but that's a bullshit narrative that politicians are going to jump on as a way to kill something. And nobody asks any questions. They just say it's bad for the environment, and that's it. And that brings a lot of shitty constituents in who say, yeah, we support the environment, F Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
So we've got to be vigilant, as we have been as a community on all these fronts, to not just push back, but push back with knowledge, information, resources, and educate people to defeat these bullshit narratives.
I think on the same topic, though, when I was a kid, the Vietnam War was going on. We were in the streets marching and protesting to stop this, and we weren't listening to everything we were told by the government. Now, these kids, they're wearing masks, even though there's no reason to anymore, because they do what they're told. And I think that's a big problem for Bitcoin, of masses of people growing up being told what to do and do it, and not challenge it, and not talk about it, and not even question it, just saying, hey, I was told to do it, and they do it. I think that's a big issue.
Yeah.
Too many participation trophies, man.
Too many participation trophies.
You know what it is? It's nihilism. We have a culture of pessimistic nihilism where people don't believe they have a future, so they don't plan for their future. They don't put aside anything for their future. They don't believe their life is going to be prosperous. The institutions have let them down. There's no social contract between the younger generations and the institutions. So fuck it, man. Live for today. Buy shitcoin. Fucking get high on drugs that were made in a bathtub somewhere, right? And then die quick.
You prefer
Maybe
your
get a
drugs
Lamborghini.
not made in a bathtub, you're saying?
I might made it in a trash can. I prefer.
And so for me, it's like when I talk to people, I just want the Bitcoin story for me is telling them like, no, you have a future. Like you have a good life ahead of you. Yeah. If you can just delay gratification and save for future you can believe that you have a good life, you will be prosperous. And the more people that are prosperous in America as a nation, the more prosperous America is going to be. And so I think it's
Absolutely.
a very patriotic story.
We started out talking about winning, right? And none of us are sick of winning. And if you look around the Bitcoin community, I think we attract a community of winners. And that sounds cliche, but I don't think it is. And one of my favorite sayings I like to say is, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. And we've got cultures pervasive throughout our entire society now where people are content to be losers. And you've got a bunch of Bitcoiners out there refusing to fucking lose, trying to fight to win, save our country, save our monetary system, save everything we've worked our whole lives for. And, this is the kind of thing that if you can't get behind Bitcoin, what can you get behind? Everybody's got to stand for something.
I'm riding Bitcoin to zero, okay? Either Bitcoin's
You're not going to get there, dude.
Either Bitcoin's going to zero or the dollar's going to zero. But I'm riding it all the way to a zero on either end, all right?
I don't think it's a part of it's not necessarily all these kids' fault. Once we became fiat money and your money was worth less tomorrow than it is today, you were taught to spend your money because you can't get as much tomorrow. Yeah. Where you saved money before. Now, I was only like in the 9th grade when they took the dollar off the gold standard, so I had nothing to do with it, guys. But I'm telling you, that is what has destroyed it, is the inflation, and your money's worth less next year, so you might as well spend it. Why save your money?
The economy.
Well, it's not even just why save your money, right? It's how can you save your money, right?
Yes.
Like nothing's working. Gold is not working. Outside of tech stocks that are growing north of 20%, you can't find a way to effectively save your purchasing power. So, that's where Bitcoin comes in. Yeah, we've taken a US dollar price hit recently, but I think what's going to happen is once the dust settles and people look around and realize that even though our government tells us that's not the case, we're in a ridiculously inflationary environment, people are going to get pragmatic and go, okay, my money's not worth as much. What do I do? How do I preserve my purchasing power? And the answer is that they're going to come to is buy Bitcoin. The irony is if you buy Bitcoin now, this is kind of a tweet I had today, something along these lines, like if you purchase it, when you really need Bitcoin, yes, that'll stop the bleeding and your money won't bleed anymore. If you purchase it now, you're actually going to come out ahead. So that's kind of the beauty of being an early adopter of Bitcoin is, you won't just stay even, you're going to win.
Think about how fundamentally unfair the current system is, that if you want to preserve your purchasing power, which is your fucking time, your life force, your energy that you put into earning the dollars, right? Little pieces of your life. If you want to preserve that so that you can, like, let's say, retire with dignity, you have to go and sit with somebody on Wall Street, basically swim with sharks, put your money into a complicated financial product that you don't understand, that you can't understand, that's put together by somebody who you can't trust, who you don't trust. That's a very fundamentally unfair system. And Bitcoin is like money under the mattress, as it always has been, right? Like, yeah.
The cynical red pill person would say that, that's by design, that's how governments oppress you by deflating your money, making it worth less, keeping you dependent upon them, introducing universal basic income and all this shit. And that's why you get a K-shaped recovery where the owner class gets richer as assets inflate and people working paycheck to paycheck get screwed because the fiat that they're owning is worth less. So, when we talk about Bitcoin being the solution for 8 billion people, that's what it is. If these people who are busting their ass every day for a paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck, cannot get fucked and can preserve their wealth and actually build a better life for themselves, then we're working for something special.
And at the same time, they're gaslighting the American public and telling them that inflation is good for you. Hey, are you a middle-class American? Guess what? Inflation is good for you. Oh, don't worry about the rising wealth inequality. Don't pay attention.
That doesn't pertain to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, people in all reality do have the first opportunity any humans ever had to get into money before the rich people got into the money. I mean, actually, people now, the normal person, that guy who's working that paycheck 9 to 5, has a chance to get a piece of this wealth that's going to happen before the banks and it all got taken away, or before it all went either to the kings or to the royalty or to the central banks or wherever, and the people got any scraps that were left.
Yeah.
So this is a complete different thing that we've never seen before.
Yeah, it's amazing because it really exposes. Bitcoin teaches us a lot of things, but one of the things it's absolutely taught me is that it exposes that government has just been focusing completely on, addressing symptoms, right? The root problem, and no one understands this, or very few people, right, understand this. It's the money, right? It's the money that's causing all of this. 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 of savings, right? I mean, it's 1971.com, or what the fuck happened 1971.com. The top chart, my favorite chart to talk about productivity, increasing at pace from 1971 on up 250%, right? Wages, they're up 115%, right? So they're basically flatlines. You're spending your precious time, which is the most scarce thing you have, for this money that is filthy, because immoral, really. It's stealing your precious time, which is what you have. Absolutely immoral. We have a moral obligation to fight for Bitcoin. It's going to build a bright future that is going to be based on money that respects you and respects your humanity. And that's huge.
I think the reason that we're seeing Bitcoin get the attention that it is right now is because for the first time, what you just talked about is impacting a first world country like the United States. The impact on second and third world countries is orders of magnitude more dramatic and worse, right? Sitting here in the US, when people got first introduced to Bitcoin, they're like, what do we need this shit for? We have the dollar. The dollar's great. Everything's good, right? But there are literally billions of people who are unbanked who do earn some money. They can't save that money in any way. Most of them have phones or mobile devices. If we could put wallets and Bitcoin on those phones and devices, they could actually save money that would hold their value and change their lives and bring them up out of poverty. And that is, I think, what's most impactful about Bitcoin. It's not about a bunch of rich people getting richer. But since things have gotten so extreme and our government has lost its mind so ridiculously, now all of a sudden it's even starting to impact wealthy individuals and corporations in the United States. And that, I think, is bringing huge global awareness.
Sucks that that's what it takes. But
I think it also, another thing is, you have a lot of people coming here from other countries who are hoping to have the American dream and send their money and help their relatives back home, and they have to go to Western Union, who's raping them on the amount of money they're taking, where with Bitcoin they can send funds back home, and they're not like losing all their value, just getting the funds back to their family to help their family out. So it's really helping a lot of people out, not just the unbanked here, but the unbanked everywhere. And of course, we're talking to global phenomenon anyway. But that fact that Western Union is not raping these people anymore, who can't afford to be raped, is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a massive deal. I mean, I lived in South America for quite a while, and watching and when I came back, I mean, I watched this happen with remittances while I was there, but I would escort people, because women would go and get the money from their families, right? And I would take them because they were terrified to go to Western Union. There were like 2 in the country, and crooks, criminals would just sit outside, and if you're a woman, and they were absolute target. It's terrible, and they're taking 40% or something, 20% at least. On top of that, and so I was sending money back, once I returned home, and my friends got attacked and robbed, and it was terrifying. And she's honestly fortunate to be alive. Like, it was absolutely terrifying. If you can do that straight to somebody's home on their phone, you strike
Anonymously.
send it anonymously, instantly, no fee, directly to them. They don't have to go anywhere. I mean, that's a massive upgrade. Yeah.
And listen, the scariest time they get robbed, and they get robbed all the time, is when 12 old white dudes, sit around a boardroom in fucking suits, and basically press the button in the computer that inflates everybody's money and steals their savings.
It's crazy.
They get robbed all the time, and they rob the entire global poor when they do that, and nobody gets a vote on that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's insane.
It's absolutely crazy. All right. Let's talk. I don't know. Let's talk price. We haven't talked price yet today. I've been avoiding it, but I always like to hear HODL's, take on things. I'll first admit that I was completely fucking wrong about HODL FOMO and super cycle stuff, right? I remember hearing you, say something like, I think it was on one of Peter's pods, that it's like, oh yeah, these institutions, they're going to have even weaker hands than we had in 2017, and they're just going to be dumping even bigger amounts than retail was, and it's going to have that cascading effect. And plus we have all of the leverage in the system now. So
I just think, like with corporations, it never made sense to me. The super cycle theory never made sense to me, because corporations have a lot of outside pressures and selective pressures on them. They have to show profit. They have to show profit on a quarterly basis. Like, not everybody is a Michael Saylor who's a true Chad who has total control of his company and can just do whatever he wants, right? I mean, most of these CEOs, they're hired hands. They're there to make the stock price go up on a quarter-by-quarter basis. And so if you have somebody like that who's allocating to Bitcoin, that person is going to be very fickle. And we do have a lot of people like that. That's what we saw in the Elon tweet. All the new whales who came in with Elon went back out with Elon, and they're waiting for the next catalyst to come in. Yeah. And Bitcoin is trading more like a traditional market because we trade on news now, right? That doesn't mean that the new whales are actually scared or they're spooked. They just know that they can make a lot of profit selling now and buying back in later, right? Yeah. And they all have new positions, so they don't have to take the tax hits like we do. Hodlers have to take a giant tax hit to unload their position at 60K. If you're new money into the market, you don't have to do that. So yeah, I think super cycle theory is BS, but we're still going to 300,000 to 500,000 by the end of the year. So like,
by the end of the year?
By the end of the fucking year. By the end of the year.
I'll go for that.
By the end of the year.
I'd call that a moonshot.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
You're known for losing bets, so I might want to bet you, but I think you lose.
I already have a half a Bitcoin on this.
Okay.
I do.
So
yeah. I have it. Yeah. Well, no, I'm gonna win that one.
Okay, well, you need to win one. You've got to lose it.
What's the number you got to hit by December 31st?
300K. 300K.
Yeah. All right.
Don't worry, I'm gonna hit it.
I believe you.
I'm supremely confident. Casual 10x before the end of the year, like fuck.
I don't think about price that much, actually. I think in the short term, I don't have any idea which direction the next $10,000 is.
Yeah.
And I'd be surprised and skeptical of anyone who's pretty sure about which direction the next $10,000 is. But I've got pretty good conviction about where it's going. At some point, it's going to flip gold, and that's $500,000 per Bitcoin. So I don't think it matters a whole hell of a lot if you're buying it at wherever it is today, 35,000, 25,000, 65,000. Doesn't matter. You're gonna be pretty happy when it flips $500,000. And then I think the world's going to change as we approach the capitalization of gold, because then all of a sudden it really is going to be a threat to the dollar as a reserve currency. And, we'll have to reevaluate things and see what the world looks like then. But I think we've got a pretty clear, unobstructed path over some time frame to 250, 300,000 for BTC.
it's kind of hard no matter what the price is when I have a friend call me from like high school going, is it a good time to buy? I don't think I've been able to say no in the last 3 years that it's not a good time to buy.
It's always a good time
It's
to buy.
always a good time to buy. But then, like right now, when I'm coming in this morning, a guy I've known since second grade is going, hey, I'm getting worried about this $10,000 I threw in the BTC, you know, a while ago. And I'm going, welcome to your first dip, brother. This will make you better. This will make you stronger. And this will make you want to keep it.
Got to earn your stripes.
Yeah,
Nobody gets a free ride.
unless you dump, and then it's
even sailors experiencing it.
Yeah.
You got to make it through your first one. Even when I went through my first one, I contacted someone. He goes, "Welcome to your first dip."
My buddy Rob over here has a great saying. Rob Hamilton says you can't earn your diamond hands. They can't be forged on the upswing. They can only be forged in the dip. You know what I mean?
It's true, man.
So congrats. A lot of you just minted your first pair of diamond hands. You're welcome.
It's beautiful.
Enjoy yourself.
You know, and it's important to note, like, you know, when you talk price, it's not just about being greedy, although, you know, it's definitely part of it. It's like we want to watch it go up, we want to get rich, but it's also important, it's fundamentally important to growing Bitcoin. Like, numbers got to go up to bring in new adopters and prove that it's here to stay. And, you know, if we want to, you know, see the outcomes that we were all just talking about, the moral, you know, outcomes, numbers got to go up. So it's also cheering for that to happen.
The numbers got to go up, but it's also got to go up in some kind of rational way, right? Like if you start doing exponential math, things get too big too quickly.
Yeah.
You can't grow at 200+% a year for too many years without being larger than all the monetary wealth in the entire planet, right? So, you know, some pragmatism, some zooming out, looking at big picture, and just, you know, looking at the trend is important.
I do think that the CAGR is going to reduce. I think we all believe
Has
that,
to.
right? Has to. But even if you look at Amazon's CAGR or Tesla's CAGR over the last several years, you know, decade plus, I mean, Amazon like 30 some odd percent, Tesla 60 some odd percent. Those were both super volatile stocks, even at that low.
Yeah, well, what people don't realize about Amazon, right, is since Amazon was a public company, 6 times in Amazon's public company life, it lost 80% of its value or more. 6 times. So, technology adoption's not easy.
One of my sacred cows, like when we talk about the price, is just higher lows. If we're much higher than we were during the next year, if we get a bear cycle, if we're like sitting well above the prior all-time high, that's a win for Bitcoin. And as long as that continues to happen repeatedly over the next 4 years and the next 4 years, Bitcoin is just going to continue to dominate because that higher lows, you know, the support price basically means you've minted a bunch of hardcore hodlers who are religious zealots. Like it's like Paul Tudor Jones said to Stanley Druckenmiller, like, did you know that when the price went from 18,000 to 3,000, 87% of the hodlers didn't sell because 87% of the hodlers are religious zealots.
That's right. And with every new cycle like the one we have now, you get more hodlers, and we're getting hodlers of better quality with more money and bigger stacks, right?
Yep.
And a percentage of them, I don't know what it is, you know, 10% of those, the sailors of the world, they'll come in, they'll believe in the ethos, they're true believers, they stick around, and that's why you get those higher lows, higher highs, and the next cycle will just be higher.
Yep. It's just a matter of zooming out. I mean, looking at it from the distance, and you can see that the track is beautiful. It's just an arrow up, and you zoom out.
Exactly. Just stack on a regular basis. SwanBitcoin.com, y'all. You know, it's an easy way to DCA, and there is no sell button, so you know, it makes it easy.
That's why we love you.
Yeah, there's no sell button. Makes it we force you to hodl. We're talking about adding a sell button. We're gonna have to add one at some point, but we're talking about adding like 3 layers of like, I agree. Are you sure? Are you sure? I agree. Are you sure?
You realize you
Show
may
a
never
price
get
chart.
this back.
Be like, you know, Alex Gladstein says that this is going to help all the, you know, refugees around the world and everything. Are you sure you want to opt out of this? Like you're you know, anyway. We'll see. I don't know if that's going to make it through
I think that's a
product.
That's a great idea.
It might. You never know. It's something Swan would do.
It might talk one person into stopping it. If you do, it would be worth it.
Yeah. Well, it's surprising we actually don't get that many people who write in to support to ask, you know, for sells, because we'll do it manually. Obviously, we're not going to hold your Bitcoin hostage. We just make it hard for you to sell it, and we don't. I mean, We have hodlers. We have hodlers at Swan, and we're coaching them to be hodlers. I mean, we
That's
very
good marketing.
aggressively teach them to be hodlers. Yeah, builds a resilient customer base. So when you go into the bear market, you're like easy to say, keep going. Like this is the best time to DCA. Like you get to buy all the way down, and you bring your cost bases way down. Like so.
I haven't had a single investor redeem since 2018.
That's amazing, man.
Well, it's on sale. I mean, let's face it, they're having a fire sale right now. So
It is. It's true. It's true. All right, gents, this was a lot of fun. I'm gonna move on to the next session here with Bitcoin Beach Crew. So yeah, thanks American HODL, Gary Leland, Eric Weiss.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, what does this button do?
Hold on.
Nothing.